What is up, ladies and gents? You know what time of day it is. It's XCN time, and in today's video we're going to be talking all about XCN. We're going to be discussing what we are seeing here on the charts, and I'm going to be giving you guys my price prediction for XCN over the coming days, as well as my targets for 2025. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. Of course, if you are a new viewer, then welcome to this channel. If you do like this sort of content, hit the like button and subscribe for more. If you are a returning viewer, as always, welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you all here. So, of course, we're going to be diving straight into this video, and we're going to start off with the shorter term here on XCN. Now, of course, first and foremost, if you are a shorter term holder, meaning that you like to trade in and out of XCN, let me know down in the comment. It would be nice to know who my audience is. Are you more longer term holders here on XCN? Are you looking to hold for a few months or longer? Or are you trying to trade in and out of XCN? Let me know down in the comments. I'm curious to hear from you guys. Of course, talking about the shorter term, we are on the 1 hour chart right now. And yeah, basically, it's no secret to us that XCN has been in a downtrend. Of course, it has been a slow bleed since April the 23rd, where we saw this nice little pump here on the charts. Of course, 2 weeks of this downtrend, and you can see that essentially what we are seeing is XCN taking the staircase downwards. Basically, what that means is that we are flipping supports into resistances. So, for example, if we have a look at this first box that I've drawn here, this was initially a support as the prices came down to test it, bounced back up, tested it again, bounced up a little bit, and as prices fell below this support level, it came up to test it as a resistance. So it's taking a staircase in the downwards direction, and as long as it keeps on doing that, it's going to be in this bearish trend. Now, given the fact that XCN has lost a key support level, I do think the prices in the very short term could be heading a little bit lower. You can see that a key level we were watching was this 1.65 cents level that was right by this 0.618 fib, and this was a strong support level for the XCN price. You can see it's been tested on several different occasions, twice there in April, and literally 5-6 times in this region at the start of May. And that means realistically, in the next few hours or days, we can see the prices dip down to this 1.43 cents level, and that's where the next support is at the 0.5 fib. So that's something I see happening in the shorter term. And as long as this bearish structure where the prices are taking the stairs down exists, then that's the next target for us. Of course, it's not all bad news here on the shorter term. And the things that you want to watch out for to catch a potential trend reversal here on XCN. So if you want to catch prices close to the bottom before we start going back up, which, by the way, guys, I do believe we will do over the coming days and weeks, is to look for divergences between the price and the MACD. And at the moment, we're not quite seeing it. But the best way to do this is to draw a support on the price. So draw the support of the lows of the price here. You can see that this gray line that I've just drawn, in fact, let's make that a bit of a different color. Let's draw that in yellow so you guys can see it. This trend line is obviously facing downwards. And if we draw a support trend line of the lows here on the MACD, we can connect them, and we can see that the trend line is also facing downwards. So there's no divergence here yet. Both trend lines are facing downwards, but it's not far off from a divergence. For example, if I lift that up a little bit and we do something like this, you can now see that the line on the MACD is actually pointing upwards, and this indeed would be a divergence, and that would signal to me that we could see a trend reversal in the near future. And that means if the current trend is bearish, then in the near future we could start to see a new bullish trend emerge. So that's something I'm looking for here on the shorter term. We essentially want to see if the MACD is corroborating what the price is doing. If we get a divergence, that could be a hint of a trend reversal in the near future. Of course, on top of that as well, we could be seeing some sort of double bottom pattern here in play in the shorter term. We've got the price come down to this 1.55 cents level, and that's happened again just a few hours ago. So if we see something like this over the next few hours, for example, where the prices get up to this resistance line once again, and we start to see a breakout to the upside, that could be very, very bullish in the shorter term, in my opinion. Of course, that could send the prices quite a bit higher here on XCN. So what we want to be looking for in the short term is if prices can start to crack back above that 1.65 cents level. That is all important here on XCN. If we can crack above that, we have a stab of getting back towards the 2 cents region here, and that could start us on a new bullish trend in the shorter term. Of course, we've also got a very important event happening tomorrow. That's happening about 7 p.m. my time, 1 p.m. UTC, and that's of course the interest rate decision that's coming out tomorrow. I will make another video on this tomorrow, so we'll cover this in a little bit more detail before the interest rate does actually come out. But essentially, what you need to know is that this event really affects crypto quite a lot. There's generally a lot of volatility when the interest rate is released, and previously it was 4.5%, and the market is essentially expecting 4.5%, so the interest rates to stay the same. Of course, if there's any variation, so if the interest rate gets lowered, that's very bullish for the markets. If it goes up, that's very, very, very bearish for the markets. On top of that as well, we've got this press conference that's happening tomorrow, 1:30, so half an hour later after the interest rate is released. And that's where the chair talks about their decision, their thought process, what they're thinking about the economy. Of course, if he sounds optimistic, if he sounds positive, if he uses language that gives off confidence, positivity, etc., etc., that's going to be bullish for the markets. If he's very concerned, if he sounds worried about inflation, that's going to be very, very bearish for the markets. And so these two events put together is going to really shake up the crypto market. And so, of course, that's going to be 7 p.m. my time. So again, like I say, I will make a video before this comes out to really go into a bit more detail about this, but that's what you need to know for that event coming tomorrow. Of course, if you are trying to trade it, just be careful out there. And so now looking at the longer term here on XCN, nothing has changed for me. I'm still extremely bullish here on XCN for the longer term. And when I say longer term, I mean a couple of months or more. And essentially, if we just zoom out a bit on the chart, you guys can kind of see why. Of course, in the shorter term, we were looking at that downtrend. All you have to do, if you're a longer term holder and you're starting to get a bit negative from this downtrend, is just zoom out on this whole chart and just look at the progress XCN has made over the past 6 months. The prices are still up over 10x from where they were 6 months ago. So the progress here has been still absolutely amazing in my opinion. Of course, we've got a lot of things to look forward to. One of the main things that I keep my eye on here is essentially this global liquidity and crypto correlation. Of course, this chart is the correlation between global liquidity and Bitcoin, but by extension, we know Bitcoin is correlated to the crypto market. And so global liquidity is correlated to the crypto market. And as you can see from this chart, global liquidity is this yellow line here. And we have seen global liquidity absolutely go ballistic. And so given the fact that global liquidity is highly correlated to crypto, and just thinking about it, the correlation does make sense. If there's more liquidity in a system, there's more money in a system, then naturally more of that money flows into crypto as investments. And so that's why we see a correlation like this. And at the moment, we are here at the moment. Bitcoin has started on an uptrend. It went from 83,000 to 95,000 over the past few weeks, and now we have stalled a little bit, just like the global liquidity did 3 months ago. And Bitcoin and the rest of crypto still have this massive move to make. And if there is a good correlation with the global liquidity and Bitcoin should hit 180k according to this chart. So if Bitcoin's making this massive move upwards over the next few months, that's going to be very, very positive, not just for XCN, but for a lot of your bags in altcoins. So that's something for us to look forward to here in the longer term. Of course, on top of that as well, here on XCN, we've got this beautiful structure popping up here. Of course, we've got this upper resistance. I'm just going to change that back into gray. This upper resistance here has been tested on several different occasions. We connect the January high there with the 2 April highs we had, and they perfectly connect up into this resistance that you see here on the screen. Of course, what we also see is we have a support here on XCN where we connect the pump from early January to the lows there in April. And what you can see on the charts is essentially 2 parallel lines here forming this bull flag type pattern. Of course, you can see this parabolic move here on XCN in January led into this bull flag. This bull flag constituted a 3-month-long consolidation so far. And what we could expect to see if prices really start to break past this upper resistance is a breakout from this bull flag. Of course, what we want to see for a successful breakout is an increase in trading volume, just like what we saw back in April. And of course, we would like to see the momentum here increase, the bullish momentum increase on XCN. If that happens, we could realistically be looking at an insane price target here, stemming from a breakout from this bull flag. Of course, the price target is the length of the move going into the bull flag in the first place. We just drag that to wherever we see the breakout, and this forms a price target of 12.6 cents. Of course, if we break out sooner, you can see that the price target increases to 13.3 cents. So a massive 517% trade if we see a clean breakout past this upper resistance line. Of course, if you are looking for a great place to buy or trade Onyxcoin, then look no further than the MEXC exchange. This is the exchange that I use for all my trading because they have some of the lowest trading fees that don't require KYC to get started, and for a very limited time only. As you can see, they're giving every new user who signs up using the link in the description down below $20 to get started. So if you'd like to make use of that offer, sign up using the link in the description down below. It takes less than a minute to do so. Don't forget to deposit some fiat or crypto into your MEXC account, and then they'll give you that bonus straight away. So you can, for example, buy some XCN or long any such breakout here on XCN. Of course, guys, thank you so much for supporting this channel. Let's get back into this video. So this is one of the longer term things that really excites me here on the charts about XCN. We've got this bull flag pattern here that you can see that's been cooking up over the past few months. At the end of the day, we also know that XCN really respects its fib levels. We can see that, for example, after this January pump that we had, prices retraced right down to this 0.382 fib almost perfectly, and we saw a bounce from that up to the 0.786 fib. So you can see firsthand that XCN loves these fib levels. And so if we start to see the prices rise here, particularly if we're able to crack past the previous high there at 5 cents, the next main targets for 2025 that I'm looking at are these ones here, the 1.414 fib and the 1.618 fib. The 1.414 fib sits at roughly 17 to 18 cents. What's fascinating about that is that's also the previous all-time high here on XCN. So if we get up to that level, I do expect there to be quite a lot of selling pressure as we hit that level there. But if we can smash past the previous all-time high, then the next level for me, my main price target, my ambitious price target, sits at 32 cents. That's the golden fib there, the 1.618 fib. And that's what I think is coming next if we can break the previous all-time high. So those are my two 2025 price targets. This price target from the bull flag could also be considered one at 13 cents. And I'm closely keeping my eye on any such breakout past this upper resistance line, which currently sits at 2.1 cents. So these are just some of the things that I'm bearing in mind in the longer term. And of course, if you're more shorter term focused here on XCN, then I'd probably honestly just wait till after the interest rate data does come out. Of course, there's going to be a lot of price swings up until that point, and we'll probably get a clearer picture of where XCN is going to be headed after that data does come out. So those are my thoughts here at the moment. Like I say, I'm going to make a video tomorrow detailing that interest rate decision. But for now, guys, that's going to be a wrap on this video. Of course, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, let me know down in the comments if you are a shorter term holder or a longer term holder here on XCN. Longer term meaning that you plan to hold for several months or longer. Of course, thank you again for watching these videos. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.